Alright, so part 3 of the Xenolord raid tournament. So far we have Jignis coming in with the fastest time of the teams we've done so far, and we have Astigon coming closest of the teams that didn't make it, getting very close to the win, but only 3 or 4% left there. And now we keep on going with the other legendary pals. We're starting with Frostallion for part 3. One of the best total stat pals in the game. Only Frostallion knocked is higher, but you probably don't want Frostallion off for this fight due to Meteor Rain, or for any raid fight for that matter. So Frostallion knocked probably just an expedition pal if you're going reading Frostallion knocked and a little bit of a base worker. But Frostallion gets 20% stab bonus as well, the same element bonus on ice attacks. This one uses double blizzard spike. Just trying to get away with that. Could have gone maybe for the beam slicer blast cannon build as well. But just want to try this out. It's a little bit of a worry if they will clear the ads. The hope is that a lot of these double blizzard spikes will hit a lot of the ads as well. But the cooldown is quite high, so it leaves a lot of time, especially when Xenolord skips the stun phase. At least a lot of time for the Xenovaders to jump around and do a lot of damage and knockback effect and stuff like that. The downside is that Frostallion burns. Always a downside. It seems to be a big factor for all these raid fights, for the PvP fights and everything like that. Just the burn effect. And then I'm not sure how big a factor it is with Xenovaders. Maybe they get the blind and the poison effect from the dark attacks. You got the Xenoguards popping comets as well. There's a lot of burn and stuff like that. Ticks going around. And you can't get Meteor Rain or Frostallion either. So very high stats, but maybe held back a little bit by the burn effect and not being able to even get Meteor Rain. But I mean, it could be great for like a mixed army. If you're thinking about doing like a couple of Palladius, a couple of Jetragons, and a couple of Frostallions. That's probably a good way to go about it. But you kind of have to hope. It's a little bit about how much the ads stack up, I guess. So you could do this fight over and over. We're doing these 2 fights, and this was the best attempt for Frostallion. But if you do this fight a couple of times, you might get very lucky with a couple of double blizzard spikes stacking up on all the ads. It depends a little bit where the Xenovaders decide to jump, and how many holy bursts get wasted, which is the case with most of these pals. Then there's also the benefit of these ice pals doing super effective filler attacks. Not really sure how much it adds up over time. It does like 1000 HP for each filler attack. It's a little bit of a factor when you, especially when you got the pals that also do the not very effective, the resisted attack. Double blizzard spike is also sort of inaccurate sometimes. It just flies off in the distance, so not great. But Frostallion does end up winning a couple of deaths. Gets quite close, can get unlucky as well, probably. But could also do a little bit better with the ads, I feel. But still, decent. Probably carried a lot by the base stats. And then we have Jetragon. So this is gonna be a little bit less super effective bonus damage, I guess. But Jetragon does have a bit worse stats than Frostallion. It only gets the same attack stat, but it doesn't get the same sort of bulky stats. But hopefully it can tank some more. It doesn't really matter though if it tanks a little bit more dragon, because Frostallion also resists dragon. It's a pretty fair match. Then you just have the same element bonus for blast cannon, beam slicer, and meteor rain factoring in. So same resistance, a little bit worse bulk, but instead you get ice versus dragon damage, I guess, to compare these 2 legendary pals. I believe I'm running all 15 meteor rings on this army as well. So no mixing here, no, could have gone for like 5 meteor rings and then filled the rest with beam slicer. I just went full meteor ring because that's the natural skill that it's born with. If that makes sense. Just adding some mix. There's a lot of meteor rings. A little bit overkill. So Jetragon probably could have done a little bit better with a couple of beam slicers mixed in as well. It's a little bit surprising how much damage it is to just use blast cannon and beam slicer over like Blizzard Spikes and Diamond Rains and even Icicle Line. I think my first attempt at Xenolord I gave all the pals Icicle Line and Diamond Rain. They're not that good compared to just like Lightning Streak, Airblade and stuff like that. It's a bit weird, it feels like all the best skill builds so far are just running like the same skill fruits. It's not a lot of exclusive skills. Meteor Rain is factoring in quite a bit, maybe double Blizzard Spike, but largely it's the same skill fruits, and then you just get the other factors like how fast the pal moves, the hitbox, some attack stats, or some same element bonus if they burn or not. It's not so much about which attacks they're running, maybe. It's all the other little factors. Jetragon also seems to like move a little bit in between. Maybe could have worked with like a Rock Burst, but then Rock Burst didn't do super well. But Jetragon seems like it's very fast as well. Could maybe have made it work with like Lightning Streak as well, but I felt like the same element bonus here too big to pass up. 20% is pretty big. Alright, so a W for Jetragon as well. A couple of dead pals here as well. But does have a high attack status. Like, you got those other, like 130 attack, then you got those 140 attack. Now I have Libero, which is like 150 attack or something. It's the highest attack stat pal. But also it's dark, so it might just get Meteor Rain to death. And then all of these Liberos, it probably would have been better if they didn't have Siren of the Void. But these aren't meant to fight Xenolord, really. They're meant to fight Libero herself. So you want Siren of the Void for that. Probably for the Nightmare Bloom. Maybe not even then. But it's like, they can't get Legend anyway, so you might as well keep it. But maybe Impatient or something would have been better. Some Dragon attacks, those don't hurt too much. It's more like if he would have used Meteor Rain right now. That would hurt a lot. So you kind of want to get to the stun phase or something before he attacks the entire army with Meteor Rain or one big Beam Slicer or something. I wonder how much impact Impatient would have had here. Maybe they would have used Holy Burst before jumping back here or something. Not sure. Because then it adds quite a bit of damage, I think. Unfortunate, they're not doing a lot of... Okay, now they're clearing some ads. It seems pretty good at clearing the ads as well, the Nightmare Bloom skill. Those ads are all dead, but so is a Libero. And that one's on fire, so that's gonna die. I did also try this exact same army and then having Diamond Rain as well. Since they do have Siren of the Void, it also boosts ice damage. But it did worse than this. So a bit of a surprise there as well. But I guess Diamond Rain just isn't really as strong. And doesn't clear the ads as well. Stuff like that. Libero's Nightmare Bloom gets a 2.5 damage bonus when she's condensed to max. So that's why it's still good. Even if it's resisted. It's just an insane amount of damage. If we ever get a raid boss that doesn't resist it, Libero with her max attack, highest attack stat in the game, is probably gonna be really good. Unless it's so much like they just randomly give the boss a bunch of Meteor Rain, Beam Slicer, Blast Cannon, and exclusive skills that are super effective. So unfortunately Libero, as you can see, not quite making it. Doesn't look that way unless they do some real heroics now in the last phase, but just these Xeno guards, they're not really clearing them, I guess. And that adds up as well, since they're using extra Beam Slicers and Comets and stuff like that. Blast Cannon. Random Comet there. And just some finishing. And all of them have these burn aggregates. So Libero, Not quite making it, couldn't quite power through. Maybe would have made it if it had Impatient over Siren of the Void and was running maybe the Blast Cannon build or something. But it is what it is. That army is made for another purpose. There we have the Mimog army. Rather late in the tournament. But since it is by the Palpedia, they are quite late. They're the Sekurajima Pal. Very high defense. But fortunately they're neutral, so they're gonna take some super effective damage from Xenolord and all the adds. They move quite fast though, so I'm hoping they would move quite close to the boss between attacks and stuff. Get some bonus damage from Lightning Streak. Lightning Streak is a little bit of a gambling skill when it comes to boss positioning. It can be super strong if you're doing like speedrun kills, and it can also be a little bit unreliable if he decides to moonwalk a little bit away. Big meteor rain. So the meteor rain for every boss feels a little bit different. Like Rio's, it lands like the 5 side of a dice, like in that kind of shape, like this little cross shape. And then the meteor rain from Xenolord seems to follow the target a bit, unless the target is standing still, which is a bit weird. Then you only get hit by 1. I feel like most of the attacks do burn damage in this raid, and even in the other raids as well. Even have Libero doing burn damage with a couple of her. Even Bjorn does burn damage. They're all doing burn damage. It's a bit strong. The Mimog pretty small as well. Actually, I think it might go beneath the laser. Not 100% sure. Could be worth going for the Alpha Mimog army if you want to do that, but that's a lot of breeding. And here comes all those Xenovaders with their super effective exclusive attack. Really hurting. Quite a big, Holy Bursting. But not quite making it to phase 2. Made it through phase 1 though. The first wave of adds. So that's good work from Mimog. Then we have Xenolord versus Xenolord. So Xenolord is a bit of an odd pal. It didn't quite get the stats you were expecting for like Ultra Xenolord fight and you breed your Xenolord. It's a little bit lacking in total stats, quite a bit weaker than stuff like Frostallion. Does get like 5 exclusive skills. They are arguably good and bad, debatable, depends on what you're using them for. But these skills are, the one Cosmic Meteor and a Mega Laser are interesting just for this fight, because it keeps them a little bit out of the fight for a couple of seconds. They might like dodge an attack or two, can dodge Meteor Rain. Maybe not a super amount of damage to Xenolord, but as I mentioned in another video, it's mainly about Holy Burst, and then you have these 2 filler attacks that hopefully they do a little bit of damage. You got like the Air Blades and Lightning Streak damage, or they do what's going on right here, which is, imagine if there were adds here. So that's kind of the purpose of the second skills. That's why Wall Splash and those kind of skills didn't really seem to work out super well, despite doing a ton of DPS to Xenolord. Just keep the Holy Burst on him and have some air effect skills like the Meteor Rains, Omega Lasers, hopefully Cosmic Meteor, stuff like that. So Xenolord loses a couple of resistances to himself with being dark. It won't resist all these beam slicers and blast cannons. And it will take all the burn damage as well, so it's a bit of a weird pal, as mentioned. Not a super high attack stat, and like the Xenovaders have a higher attack stat than the Xenolord. If you look at base stats, if you're breeding a max Xenovader, it will have a higher attack stat. A bit weird. But then it does have these like massive exclusive skills. They're not super good in a party pal format because the animations are so long, but in a raid they are decent. Pretty good. Doesn't look super good. They're not really wiping everything out. You need a couple of more lasers. They're not hitting everything. Could have been a little bit better. But it's like, it's decent air effect. I feel like you might want to mix a couple into your raid. It depends. There's a lot of focus on breeding like 10 to 15 of the same pal. It was quite fun to raid with different pals as well. To have like some area of effect focus pals, then you have like maybe a pal that goes close. I'm not sure really how the targeting works. If he's gonna target the closest pal more likely, then you can add a Silvegis or something. But that's probably not how it works. Feels a little bit random. If the player is closest to target you, not sure how the targeting is for the base pals. Maybe if you got a bunch of Xenolords flying around, it will target the pal on the ground. That seems wishful. But yeah, mixing raid armies is a little bit... That's just more... It's easier to breed the same pal, because you can use the pal to clone itself, kinda. Just keep like breeding with the same parents. Depends how much work you want to do for your raid army. Just breeding the same 15 is fine, but it depends. Hopefully they add some use for breeding more than one pal, like the rescue pal thing, like actually mixing because of a strategy. Okay, so we have Silvegis. Good stats? I mean, they're good, they're in the top 20, but they're not on that level of like Jetragon. So this is almost the same build as Jetragon, it's just we have the Aegis shield thing as well. Figure might as well use it since it's not really... It doesn't have the stats to compete with the same build. I figure we'd just use the exclusive skill and see how it works out with all the ads as well. We got all the meteor rains as well. It's 13 meteor rains and 13... What is it? Aegis charge. Couple of holy bursts missed there. Not great. Didn't look like too many though. Sometimes they just kind of wait with it, which is nice. So what I'm really looking for here is ones, like on the damage numbers. When they have the shield up, can actually see them block any hit. This is a little bit unfortunate timing. They just used all their skills, I feel like. Now the ads are gonna spawn with no meteor rain. That's probably like the sweet spot for mixing skills as well. If you're gonna be doing like 5 meteor rain something, you want enough DPS to kind of match the meteor rains to the ad wave. And if you're adding player damage, you gotta factor that in too. If you're doing like a player damage with the raid army kind of deal, maybe even holding off damage would work, but it just sort of depends. Not a huge deal as well. It depends a lot on the playstyle with like if you want to be the one focusing down the ads. Like when I'm using this Frostallion here with double Blizzard Spike and Blizzard Spike, it's quite easy to just shoot one plasma cannon and a Xenolord, add a Blizzard Spike, and it's like out of the picture. But if you have it like 15 meteor rains and stuff like that, I don't think you need to focus on that anyway. Just a little bit of how much you want to add to that. Depends on your mix of skills. That's better timing. Very pretty. So how healthy are the Xenolords looking after that? One of them has like half. And it's burning. It would be great if it got clipped a little bit. I feel like if they use the Holy Burst on top of the Xenolords, it does one hit. If they use it on Xenolord standing next to a Xenolord, does a lot of damage with those little lines that goes out. So the dragon basic skill as well here. Before we had the ice basic skill doing super effective to Xenolord. Now we have the dragon basic skill doing super effective to the Xenovaders. Maybe that adds up as well. Getting them out of the picture. No holy bursts wasted on them instead. There's a lot of these like tiny factors, but they don't matter a whole lot if you're doing this with this kind of army and you're killing it in like 2 minutes with player damage. Then it's more like how quickly you can farm up your slabs. If you have a bunch of slabs from expeditions or dungeons, and you just want to kill the boss quickly, then you probably want some rescue pals as well, just to make the farming a little faster. But a successful fight here. A couple of dead Silvegis. A pretty slow fight as well, but it would have been faster if I used the blast cannon probably. Some blast cannon and then a mix of like 8 beam slicers or something. They actually won both fights, just very slowly. So this one here, almost 4 minutes. Would have been like 4 minutes if he didn't teleport right there. A couple of survivors. There's only 4 of them left here. One goes down, one is burning down. Boom. So the second fight, just want to show that as well. They actually did win, but with just 2 of them. One of them is probably going to burn down in a second as well. So it got pretty close, but they did win both with that Aegis charge build. Then we have the 2 Bastigor armies. So the reason there's 2 Bastigor armies is because of these breeding exclusive skills. The first one was made, it was actually 3 armies to start. It was the double Blizzard Spike army with Siren of the Void and running pure Glacial Impact, double Blizzard Spike and Diamond Rain, so 3 ice attacks. Siren of the Void, super effective, everything like that. Then it got deleted in the dimensional box. Only the army without Siren of the Void survived, so it's double Blizzard Spike, Diamond Rain, or no, not Diamond Rain, Glacial Impact, double Blizzard Spike and Holy Burst. No Siren of the Void. Just to see these breeding exclusive skills and how much it adds up with these super effective attacks and everything. The same thing with Frostallion here. The worry is that the ads will just be a hassle to deal with. Hopefully some extra damage from these double Blizzard Spikes. You can see there in the left side. Once they do use them on the ad group, it usually kills them in 1 or 2 attacks. That's the issue. A lot of issues with Glacial Impact worth mentioning. It's like a very high DPS skill, but it often sends them out on a little mission. They fly away. They stack up a lot as well for some attacks. So maybe it could be worth just skipping Glacial Impact and running Diamond Rain. A little bit less damage, but safer. Could be an option. But yeah, so the second or the third Bastigor army, that's the one with Meteor Rain. I'm gonna be running a little bit of a mix there as well. Not 13 Meteor Rains, just doing a mix. And here we have 13 double Blizzard Spikes. It would have been fun to have that Siren of the Void. I've lost 2 armies, I think. I lost the Meteor Rain Phalaris Aqua army and this Bastigor army. One of the 3. We'll get them back someday. If it's worth breeding. I don't want to rebreed this close to Tides of Terraria. So this is the end of Feybreak raiding. Just want to use all the raid armies I have with what I believe now are the best attacks. Done a lot of tests. It's kind of weird that it's not a lot of pals where you use their like exclusive skills, unless you kind of force it. Would be fun to have like that the variation between some of the pals were that their exclusive skills were just super strong. Even Glacial Impact here is a bit tricky with all the issues. But another W. Big win for the first Bastigor army. So this one was more of a trial army. Then we have the real one coming up in this fight here. So these are the Bastigors that have the mix. So it's 6 Meteor Rains and I think 7 Diamond Rains. And then Glacial Impact as well. Just because it is a lot of damage. Especially if they, sometimes they time the jump so they do damage on the way up and on the way down. That's also a lot of damage. And here's all the Meteor Rains. So now we'll see how it times as well. We kind of want these Meteor Rains to time with that second and maybe like the first ad wave, but it might not be an issue. Depends a little bit. Now he got stunned in the air. That's pretty nice. No slam. Okay. When is this meter ring wave gonna come down? We're gonna see the time. It's at 9 minutes now. They do a little bit of glacial impacting. Maybe that's also enough. It does help to clear with the ads. Okay, so around... That's the kind of timing you want, maybe. You want him to enter the second phase at maybe 9 minutes. Something like that. To time it with meter rain. And anything faster than that, you're just gonna have a bunch of ads to deal with. So you don't really need to be faster than that time, unless you're doing like a speedrun kind of thing. Then he's gonna enter the second phase here. I guess if you have enough DPS to enter the second phase at 9 minutes instead, if you're adding player damage and the Frostallion damage and everything, or maybe even more base pals, or you find a better build with a little bit less meter rings, maybe just 3 meter rings. Now it's at 8 minutes, so yeah, around like 50 seconds between the meteor rings or something. 55. If you want to time it around that to just clear the ads. And then you could just clear the Xenoguards with a plasma cannon shot or two. With that Frostallion attacks. Doubled ice damage when mounted. 40% player attack when mounted. And ice damage. So very good pal against these Xenoguards. The Glacial Impact, also quite a long animation, so it's another one of those that is a little bit worse in a party situation, but in a base, doesn't really matter if the animation is quite long. But another W here as well for Bastigor, quite good time as well. Just 2 of them going down. So, and then, like all the armies are running this Legend, Serenity, Demon God kind of build with Musclehead. Just a few of them with Impatient and stuff like that instead. So here we have all the armies. Half of them won and half of them got wiped. Astion coming closest on the white part. Xenolord and Libero, those raid pals not quite making the cut. Rio though coming second as a raid pal. And then we have the Jetragon army just with a good fight, I guess. Pretty good fight. Bastigor with Meteor Rain and Double Blizzard Spike very equal to each other. Jetragon quite high attack stat. A couple of them burnt to death. It lost a little bit of DPS. Otherwise it probably would have placed higher if you're adding some player damage to that. Orsurk was kind of the surprise win, I guess. As well as Phalaris Aqua, probably just spreading out a lot, but did take the longest as well. Silvegis using the exclusive skill, quite a long fight as well. Could have been a little bit faster. The biggest surprise was probably just the Xenolord and Palladius army not quite making it, and Astigon actually doing a better raid there. Then maybe chill it, but it's all these pals, like, you could pretty much divide it into pals that get burnt and pals that don't get burnt, I guess. A lot of these pals that do get burnt or take bonus damage, or just neutral damage from Meteor Rain, Blast Cannon, and Beam Slicer, are gonna suffer quite a bit in this raid format. But that's it for this Xenolord raid end of Feybreak tournament. Maybe gonna do something for Rio Ultra and Libero. We'll see how long time it takes until Terraria comes. This did take a couple of days to make, to do 2 fights with each army and reset for when this stuff got bugged in the start. A little bit of time, but we'll see. I might make it for Rio as well, but thanks for watching.